welcome to Senior Moments Successful Aging. I am Mary Beals-Luedtka, and I am your host. I am the Area Agency on Aging Director with NACOG, and you can reach us toll-free at 877-521-3500. Senior Moments Successful Aging is co-sponsored by the Yavapai College Division of Lifelong Learning. Our co-producer from Yavapai College is Connie Varga, and you can reach her at 928-717-7735. Oh, 7755, I'm sorry. And our co-producer from the Area Agency on Aging is Allie Bateman, and you can reach her at that toll-free number, 877-521-3500. Again, welcome to Senior Moment Successful Aging, and welcome Dr. Kaveh Karandish. I appreciate you being with us.
Thank you very much, Mary. It's great to be here.
Nice to meet you.
Same here.
So, you have a couple things I want to talk about today. First of all, you're a doctor of internal medicine and cosmetic medicine, but you're also a musician and an accomplished one at that. So, I want to start out a little bit about your background and how you come to be in the United States.
Well, thank you for your humbling words, first of all. Yes, I started medical school back in Iran, city of Shiraz, which is my hometown, in 1994, many years ago. And eventually, I always, took private piano lessons since, when I was a teenager. And at age 23, I moved to California. My family immigrated to California first, and basically I followed them. I finished the medical studies. I went to New York Medical College, St. Vincent Hospital in Greenwich Village in Manhattan, very popular place, my favorite place in the States. And I did my residency in internal medicine. Before that, I went to Cal State Long Beach for a couple of years. I did music, and my field was music composition, film composition, and orchestration and conducting. Obviously, I had to take piano lessons and as part of that curriculum. But in a nutshell, I did music studies in California. I got my bachelor in arts in focus in composition. And my medical degree, my residency was done in New York City.
The big city. And so how did you end up in Prescott, Arizona?
Destiny.
So I heard that from a lot of people, actually. It was my destiny, too.
Right. It was very accidental. I didn't know where Prescott is. After my residency, I went to University of Miami. I was at Jackson Memorial Hospital. I was very interested in rheumatology and allergy and autoimmune disease. And I worked there a couple of years, very involved in the research program, and eventually I got into a fellowship spot with Jackson Memorial. I did about 6 months of the fellowship. Due to family reasons, I had to get closer to California, to the West Coast. Based on that reason, I applied for Arizona, and I had that medical license before. So that was already, I actually found a job in Scottsdale with the Honor Health. I moved to Scottsdale. When I moved, my credentialing took much longer than it's supposed to. Instead of 3 months, it took about 6-7 months.
Oh, that's frustrating.
Eventually, yes. And I just happened to find this locum work in Yavapai Hospital, Yavapai Medical Center West. And first once in Tucson and then in Prescott, I came up and said, wow, beautiful town. And if you happen to know Dr. Hojat Askari, who is my colleague and my good friend, within 2-3 hours of my arrival to Prescott, our nurse practitioner who was showing me the hospital said, by the way, there's a Persian restaurant up here. I'm like, are you serious? There wasn't one in Tucson, and Tucson is much bigger. And he said, yeah, by the way, the owner is a doctor. I'm like, are you serious? A doctor? He must be a cool doctor. And to make it short, Dr. Askari called me that very day, and he invited me to his place. And as a gracious and a beautiful host he is, I went to his beautiful house, and I met some other doctors. And eventually we got to know each other, and We became good friends, and he was very busy up here with his practice, and I joined him as a partner to expand the practice. And we moved to the new office where we are in Willow Creek now, and that job in Scottsdale basically diminished, and eventually I came up here, and what a beautiful town, what a beautiful population. One thing about Prescott and the Tri-City is we are very fortunate because the population here, for whatever reason, they really appreciate their doctors. And that's something that I value highly because I was raised in a doctor's office. My father was one of the most famous ophthalmologic surgeries in Shiraz, in my hometown. And I saw the respect and love that Iranian patients had for their doctors. They looked up to their doctors as gods. And in return, doctors do everything for them. And for whatever reason, you see this a little less in bigger cities. In Prescott, I really saw that love that patients have for their doctors. And to be honest with you, that was one reason. And our relationship with patients is like family. And there's a lot of love, both sides. So it's great to be here.
It's great to have you here. And I don't think it happened by accident at all. I mean, what were the chances that was that restaurant owned by a doctor?
Correct.
I think fate brought you here to us.
Exactly.
I really believe that. So I know that you work sometimes with anti-aging, regenerative medicine. Can you talk about that a little bit? Like stem cell?
Absolutely.
I'm interested in that.
Yes. Basically, our population of patients, being a lot of retirees and elderly, dear folks we have, so we did concentrate on a lot of anti-aging and stem cell. One of the treatments I started to do in North Arizona, and probably why it was one of the first one, if not the first one, is PRP, which is platelet-rich plasma therapy, where we get patients' blood, we centrifuge it, we separate the plasma, and then we centrifuge that plasma, we concentrate the part of the plasma that has a lot of platelets. Now these platelets, the little particles that clot the blood, have a lot of growing factors. It's kind of like a stem cell of your own body. So we use that and for different modalities. We do it for hair loss, we do it for arthritis, joint pains, rotator cuff, vitiligo, skin conditions, vampire facial, which is skin rejuvenation of the skin. A step higher than PRP is a stem cell. Now there's different types of stem cells. We basically buy the stem cells. These are either mesenchymal cells, which are live cells from the placenta of newborn babies, or their mothers actually, or it's amniotic fluid that we get from newborn babies. And these, the second one is the one that we mostly use, and this amniotic fluid has a lot of stem cells, much more than your own body. And basically we mix that either with PRP or just on its own, and we inject that. Again, that has a lot of implications. I know some doctors in Puerto Rico and East Coast that's all they do. And they do stem cell infusions for a variety of conditions: Alzheimer's disease, dementia, autoimmune, rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, and so forth.
So on the arthritis, do you do it directly into the joint?
Correct. We inject directly to the joint. Now, if it's a autoimmune condition like rheumatoid arthritis, we can also do it as an infusion, so it goes throughout the whole body.
Okay.
There's not a lot of or tons of research done on this because no one really makes a lot of money when you're using your own stem cells or growth factors to heal. So there's not this billion-dollar research that a company like Allergan or Pfizer will do. But from what I've heard, from what I've seen, honestly, the PRP treatment for joints, I would say overall, I've probably done maybe more than 200 of these treatments in Prescott. It's around 80% effective, which is not bad.
That's very good. And that gives people hope because I have arthritis. I'm 64 years old, so I am elderly, I guess. Actually, I'm not elderly. I refuse to accept that.
You're not at all.
In my line of business, you're not elderly till you're over 80.
You're considered pretty young in Prescott.
Yeah, 64 is young
you're
for Prescott.
underage.
Yeah, I'm underage. So, but I'm interested on the hair loss too. How does that work on hair loss?
Correct. I've been using it for hair loss. We basically take the plasma, or the PRP, concentrate plasma, and with the very small needle, the 30 gauge, which we use for Botox injections. We basically inject the scalp wherever it's needed more.
Okay.
Very symmetrical.
Helps it regenerate.
Exactly. It helps all these stem cells that are around the follicles, all this soft tissue around the follicles to kind of stimulate them. And you basically need one treatment every 4 to 6 months for the best results, you know. But it does help. I can't say in everybody, but again, 70 to 80%.
Very
Interestingly, I was in a hair treatment symposium in St. Louis University, and there's a lot of big people who come and do hair transplant, you know, different types of hair transplant, and unanimously they all agreed that they do use PRP even when they do the hair transplant, and it does work.
Very interesting. What's vitiligo?
Vitiligo is the autoimmune disease, if you recall, Michael Jackson had when your skin goes white. I don't know how you pronounced it exactly.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
Vitiligo or, yeah.
Okay.
And that was a very incidental modality of treatment that we found because there was a patient who had ankle pain. And I injected her ankle. She did have this skin condition, vitiligo, next to this area where I injected. And she came back in 3 weeks and said, "Doctor, you know, my ankle pain is a little better, but that skin vitiligo is gone." And I did some research, and there was some, you know, studies that they've used it for vitiligo, and it works. And we were very actually delighted.
Very, very interesting. I know that you're very interested in, you know, the whole general well-being, you know, and that connection. And, you know, I know some people that I talk to, you know, when you talk about cosmetic surgery, they're averse to it and they have a hard time with it, you know. And I think if you feel good about yourself, that helps your general well-being. And I just wonder what your thoughts were about that.
Absolutely. Mind, body, soul, they're very connected, you know. As a part-time musician, I'm very aware of that also, of the soul, behind the mind. And absolutely, what you're saying is exactly true. So a lot of times when you treat depressive mood disorder, depression, chronic fatigue, when patients feel better about themselves, everything changes. Mm-hmm. Their facial expression changes. Something that just came to my mind, which is kind of related to this, it's interesting, I would like to share with you is,
yes, please.
They found Botox, which we do for, you know, these lines and frown lines and so forth. Study was done, I believe, either at Harvard, I believe it was Harvard, and it showed that people who get Botox, it helps them with their depression.
Really?
Yes, and what happens is brain takes these negative signals less. When your face is happier, it's more smooth, which I was very fascinated to read about, and was done at a very well established and reputable center. And basically, when these negative messages come less to the brain, it helps with depression. So your body makes more serotonin.
See, that goes back to grandma saying, put a smile on your face and
Exactly.
pretty soon you'll feel better.
That's exactly true.
It's the same thing.
It's the same thing.
So you got to listen to grandma or mother, as the case may be.
That's what it is.
So you do a non-surgical facelift, mm-hmm. PDO. What's that mean?
Mm-hmm. PDO is a quite new treatment that we offer. It's been around for maybe a couple of years.
Uh-huh.
I became familiar with it recently. It's the polydioxanone. That's the chemical. Basically, what we do is we place these cannulas or smaller cannulas or needles that have a little thread inside them, which is polydioxanone. That's the chemical, which stimulates the skin to build collagen, mm-hmm. For skin rejuvenation. So it kind of does the similar thing as PRP.
Okay.
And what we do is we create a hashtag form of injection. So we do like 3 and then 2. And that over time takes about a month or 2 or 3 to stimulate the skin. And when you have loss of volume, that helps. Another type of this treatment is where we do the non-surgical facelift. So these are barbed wires. They're much bigger with a big cannula. And we go from here to here, and we do a couple of we place a couple of these threads, and it pulls the skin up. It's very cool. It's very quick, very easily tolerated. It's easier than Botox and fillers. And before I used lidocaine, and now I use very small amount of lidocaine and place these cannulas. Everybody unanimously just feel a little pressure. That's all they say. 10-minute treatment, they go home right away with their face just being lifted up a little bit. So I'm very excited about it. People love it.
Wow, all these new things. I still am interested in this vampire facial. How come you call, is that your name for it?
No. No, I believe first was introduced in on ABC channel.
Okay.
I believe when it became popular was when Kim Kardashian did one of these, and they
Okay.
showed how it's done. What happens is we use the plasma once again, the PRP, with the microneedling. And the microneedling, what we use is the plasma of your own as a lubricant to perform the plasma, the microneedling. And that causes a little bit of bleeding on your skin,
okay.
and then you end up with a face which is sort of a lot of sunburn, something like that. And
Looks
sometimes
really
it
red.
bleeds, exactly. That's why it's called vampire facial. After that, we go ahead and use the PRP liquid to do some fillers. If people need little volume in certain areas, there's a little sunburn, sunspots, keloid formation, you name it. We kind of concentrate and do localized injection in that area.
So you also help folks with weight management and hormone replacement. You have a busy office, I bet.
Correct. Yeah, our Tom Butte Medical Center, it's a busy office. We see sometimes up to 250 patients a day, which is really
Oh my gosh.
It's a hospital number. Correct. Yes, we do some weight management. We do hormone treatment, whether it's testosterone, hormone replacement therapy, the HCG injections. Obviously, that always comes with very strict diet program. We kind of monitor the patients on a weekly basis. We give them feedback as we go.
That's good.
And obviously, we kind of cheat and use some of the medications that they use for diabetics for weight loss. Not only, usually for people who have borderline diabetes. That helps them with their sugar, and these are weekly injections. You may have heard of Victoza is a daily injection. There's a new medication,
Yes.
Ozempic.
Yeah.
There is Trulicity, and then there's Bydureon. These are all weekly injections, very simple. Insurance covers them, and some folks get benefit. It's not for everybody, but if you don't have stomach problems and you're borderline diabetic, that's definitely an option. And obviously different types of diet programs, which I think diet and exercise put together is the best. And we offer that first always.
On the hormone replacement therapy, so do you, help women with the estrogen replacement, that kind of thing as well?
Correct.
You didn't mention that. Okay.
Yes, estrogen
Okay.
progesterone combination. Usually, I know we have a new provider who is joining us soon to do the pellet treatments.
Okay.
I just heard that.
Okay.
I don't do that because I really don't have the time, but a new nurse practitioner is going to do that. But mainly we do HCG treatments, which has been, some people lose 20 to 25 pounds a month. So that's pretty effective if they do it right.
That's very effective, especially if you have a lot of weight to lose.
Right.
So let's go back to the fact that you're a musician. You brought us a CD. It's called Silent Whispers, and I know that you have several on the website because I checked your website out. So I just kind of Googled you, but there's several that you have here. One of them is www.kavehpiano.com, and that's what I looked up. If listeners want to look at the softer side of you, so
It's
you're
all
not
soft.
but piano is, it's very physical. I was talking to somebody the other day about it and saying that's why a lot of the great pianists are men, because there's so much muscle that has to be used when you really truly know how to play and can play a great piano. So you've been playing pretty much all your life. Pretty much.
I
since you-
started age 10.
That's all
and
your life.
I'll be honest with you, I wasn't very interested in the beginning. You know,
Huh?
my father, he was a self-taught organ player, and it was always in our home. You know, and they started me on organ classes first. I wasn't that motivated, which is interesting, and it took a few years, and I got a hold of some artists and recordings that I really kind of fell love into, and it all started. I was, I think, 16 or 17, which was in my high school years, and then we bought the piano, and then I was very serious. I practiced 4 or 5 hours a day, also applying for medical school. So those were crazy days.
Those are crazy days.
Cannot
I don't know how
it
you did it
anymore.
because music is a very intense
Yes.
major. I know.
Correct, yes.
Because I was in vocal performance, and
Yes.
and then to be in composition, and I cannot conduct. I think that's very difficult because if you did conducting, you have to know it all.
Exactly.
You have to memorize it all. You have to hear it all.
Yes.
It's very complex, just like medicine. So it's a good
Exactly.
fit. So do you use your music in your office to calm people?
Sometimes,
Sometimes?
yes. My favorite patients and a lot of other patients who are interested in music, I give them a free CD just to listen when they go through family losses, things like that, because especially Silent Whispers has many tracks that are very soothing. And interestingly, I was very fortunate that somehow airliners found, especially Silent Whispers, which is the title track. It's more cinematic, as they say, and relaxing piano saxophone duet. And a lot of airliners are using it as we speak. Air Tanzania, Egypt Air, Vietnam Air, FlyNAS, which is from Saudi Arabia, Mauritius Airlines from South Africa, and a couple of others, mostly in Africa and Asia. They're using it on their playlist. So it's just a very humbling and great piece of news that I heard, that they're using my music when patients are anxious to take, or not patients, but travelers, when they're anxious to take off, this plays in the airplane, and it's very rewarding.
And helps them relax because, like
Hopefully.
you said, that connection is really important. That's what I
Yes.
do if I can't sleep at night. I listen to relaxing music, something that just helps me drift, helps me go
Exactly.
away.
Exactly.
Because I have a stressful life. You really do a nice blend of your home country's music. I like the blend of the different genres that you use and you write all your own music.
Correct. It's all original.
Yeah.
I started with classical, so I
Yeah.
won a few competitions playing, for example, Moonlight Sonata, the third part from Beethoven, and Chopin, and those kind of stuff. Franz Liszt. At age 20 or 21, after winning, these competitions, I said, I want to express myself. And knowing that this is not my full-time job. I was in medical school back then. So I focused on composition, and since age 21, that was my first song that I wrote, I think 20 or 21. Like you mentioned, I've produced 4 albums. They're all 100% original. It is my life is not usual. I never watch TV. So either I'm in the clinic with patients, which is, as you know, very demanding, especially in our busy office.
Yeah.
And then at nights, I have to practice or listen, So that kind of cuts off on a lot of other aspects of life, which I try to do my best with, socializing and updating myself on news and what's going on in the world. But it is what it is, and it's been rewarding to me. It takes a lot to do both. And sometimes I'm not as successful as I want to be, but I focus. And now we have a good support team as far as music. I have a good producer, studio people, mostly in California. So when I have the song, a lot of it is done by them to kind of nourish it and add things to it. It's very fun. Also takes a lot of time and takes a lot of your soul to create something that is meaningful to you and is acceptable for you to share it with the world. But also very rewarding.
Because it's personal. You know, I wrote a
Exactly.
song once. It took me 10 years before I would let anybody hear it
You know how it is, right?
because it was so personal for me. I cried every
Exactly.
time so it took a long time for me to be able to put that. So I really admire that.
You should share that with us, by the way.
I would
would love to
imagine
hear it.
that this also though is a balance for you. Seeing patients all day and working with your medicine, which you're obviously very good at, that gives you a balance and helps you.
Yes, you know, medicine is can be stressful,
Mm-hmm.
dealing with many things. You know, Tom Butte, our office managers, they do a great job. The staff I have, they're wonderful. We really all love each other. They're very supportive. They know me very well.
That's important.
It's very important. Working in a hospital setting is very, very different.
Yes, it is.
So this helps a lot. But yeah, it helps me also through my difficult days that I've had.
Mm-hmm.
I would, you know, say this in your session today. Music saved myself, my soul, the things that, you know, everybody goes through. Music was my savior. It really was, and that's maybe one reason I keep doing it, because I'm hoping that also can help other people with their lives.
You know, and I think that even if you're not a musician, music can save someone else to you just by listening to the music and allowing it to enter into your consciousness. That can save you too, even if you're not. So this is really interesting because I know a lot of people in medicine that also are musicians. And I wonder what that connection is. I used to be a nurse.
Right.
So I was a vocal performance major. So, you know, what is that connection? I wonder. It's just interesting to think about because they do. There is a connection there. You know what? In the Judds, you know, that used to sing. She was a nurse. She was an RN. The mother was. I find that interesting.
You know, those stories was inspiring for me. Honestly, Mary, I don't know. I don't know if there's a connection, because there's also some engineers who do music. But comparatively, I think you're right. There's a lot of people in healthcare that also do music. Maybe it's a remedy to like calm them down, and that they just gravitate to it, because when you practice something every night, you will get better at it. And that's how piano was for me maybe in the beginning, you know, just try to calm me down, and you get better, and next thing is you bring another musician to play with you. You're right. I know a lot of people, to be honest with you, I don't know what's the reason. Maybe we all love people. And a lot of time music is, you love it because you can share with people, or get into a sort of a very special connection, especially like when you're doing live performance or concerts. It's like a very intimate connection with all the audience. And somehow medicine is the same. When you're in the OR doing surgery, or when you're doing an injection or procedure, or the patient is sharing their pain that they're going through with you. It's a very special connection. Maybe that's a common ground.
I think that's a good analogy because it is a special connection. And I hope, Kaveh Karandish, that someday you give us a concert here in Prescott. I think that would be wonderful. And if you want to, and then it's Tom Butte Medical Center, where you practice your medical practice.
Correct.
And someday, again, maybe hook up with Yavapai College and do a concert for us. And I really appreciate you being with us today.
I would love to. Thank you very much for the interview.
Wonderful to
Great
meet
to have you.
Thank you for joining us today. This is Senior Moments Successful Aging. I'm Mary Beals-Luedtka. Until next time.